In Los Angeles at the 2021 Esports Production Summit, Brandon Costa from Sports Video Group. Happy to be joined by a good friend of SVG, Andy Lane from FACEIT. Andy, fantastic to see you. It's great to be back in person. How you doing, sir?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. Great to be here. Great to see everybody. Great to see everyone from the industry. So, yeah, been a great day so far. Looking forward to the rest of it.
Yeah, you're on a couple sessions here at the show, but we were on one together where we were talking about LAN events. For those who aren't maybe esports folks, LAN basically just means in person. It's everyone's in together on the same network. You guys have had a few. So what's it been like getting back post-pandemic lockdown and everything, getting back to LAN events? What has that process been like for FACEIT?
I think it's been complicated. It's been complicated for everybody, and there's a lot of different and new attributes that we're looking at now. So we previously had sort of just having everybody there, big arena, big crowd, big stage. Now we've got COVID protocols. Can we do a big crowd? Where can we do it? International travel. There's so many different points that we touched on in the panel, and ultimately, I think the hardest thing, obviously, COVID itself, but the international travel aspect of that. There's so many different rules and regulations, and esports really is a global thing. So we're looking at getting people from all over the world to come to one place. We've got to help them with all of their travel requirements, and then when they get there, we need to have plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D for what happens if anything goes wrong with them. If they catch COVID, how can we isolate things but make sure they can still compete? So we've really gone to like a new model of how we look at venues when we do our venue searching. We're looking for places that have got interconnectivity that allow us to have almost any member of production or any player still do their job or still participate in the tournament from their hotel room, but also still creating a spectacle so that people have something to look at. And then how we then transition that to having people actually back in a crowd.
A really good example of that, maybe your biggest example so far, was the 6 Mexico Major that you guys hosted. Take us specifically into that event. What were some of the things that you needed to overcome, and how ultimately pleased were you with it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think the biggest thing to overcome for us actually was doing it in a foreign country. So we're a US and UK based company, so we've got production hubs in both those locations, but we don't have any resources at all in Mexico. So we were fortunate enough to be working with our partners Ubisoft there, who had a team on the ground, but it was a bit more limited on production expertise. So they gave us some inroads, and then it was all basically up to us from then onwards. Venue sourcing was very hard. A lot of venues were shut, just straight up. You wouldn't even get an answer from them. There's nobody there. So that immediately narrows everything down, and then finding a location that actually can accommodate sort of 150 people basically and keep everybody safe within the same environment really didn't leave us with a lot of options. So we ended up working with a team at the Santa Fe Hilton, and they were fantastic in accommodating our every need, and we basically had the job of bringing a production to a level underground with a service lift, which is perhaps one of the smallest I've ever seen. So you got tons of equipment going down this tiny elevator into this space, and we basically built the stage in the room there that was purely built in the room. Like everything was bolted together, screwed together in that room. It was really, really impressive to see, and that was a massive challenge. Like just to achieve that, and then when the players start arriving and like the look on their faces, like it was incredible just to see how excited everyone was just to be back in the same room and actually be able to compete like at the highest level. Because I think that's one thing people perhaps have missed over the pandemic, is that LAN isn't just like having everyone there, it's because the connection is so quick.
Sure. Yeah.
So
you don't want to deal with that latency between people in different different areas and all that kind of stuff. You mentioned the trouble with getting into venues during when lockdown was really, really heavy. You guys, your LA facility, you said remained pretty busy throughout everything.
Yeah, we've kept our LA facility quite full. It's something that we basically got just at the start of the pandemic. Our first production in there was hit mid-pandemic, and that basically thought us redesign how that facility works. We were in a position where we needed to go, we had something we had to complete. So we had 4 days to turn that around and basically cut our crew down by about 2/3. Ended up with just a few bare bones people in the studio to round out that show, and then from there on we've been using a hybrid of using our equipment in studio, cloud workflows, and occasionally having everybody present in studio when we can. But as the rules keep changing every 5 minutes, it's really hard. So every production we do is different, and that's something that our facility's been really helpful for, because ultimately we're on our own ground. We know what the rules are where we are. We have our own suppliers that we can quickly call up and get things sorted very, very rapidly. And that has really been something that's been such a strong aspect to have. And ultimately right now, probably our biggest thing is the Rainbow Six NAL, which is going on between, it's actually physically the players are in Las Vegas, they're playing there, and they send everything to our facility in Los Angeles, where we bring in all the talent and produce the actual actual show from there. We have our crew on site, fully working out of the studio, but they are still very separate from the players and the talent, which is a really, really good model in terms of like keeping everyone safe. And we can then expand that in stages, so we can like bring the talent back, which is something we've done recently, and then hopefully looking to merge it all back together again next year.
Speaking of next year, what are you looking forward to in 2022?
Oh, I'm really, really looking forward to having crowds back. I said it on the panel, like that's the main thing. Like nothing can really take from a production crew who've got like a production area behind the stage. The noise you hear when the crowd really get hyped. That's something I'm really looking forward to. But also, I'm really excited to see what we create as an industry. I think that we've kind of seen the pandemic as a bit of not a leveling the playing field, I think, but in a way, it's forced everyone to think differently. And there's a lot of new technology that's emerging because of that. We spoke on the panel about the metaverse and how that and that's something that could be really, really strong for gaming. So I will be really interested to see just where we go next with those ideas. And I think that's more of a longer term prediction than just 2022. Sure, yeah. But it's an exciting one nonetheless.
Yeah, we're certainly excited to see where you guys take this thing too. He's Andrew Lane from FACEIT. Andy, thanks so much for being here. We really appreciate your support.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Thanks, everybody.
All right, for more of everything going on here at the 2021 Esports Production Summit, head on over to the site at sportsvideo.org.